my definition of an expert is someone who knows more and more about less and less until they know everything about nothing. It's a bit of a paradox in my mind that right now we have more people with PhDs and master's degrees and MD degrees and more therapists and more trainers and more coaches per capita than ever in the history of man, and we are the sickest people we have ever been. It's not smart to go to sick doctors for health advice.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Move Smart Podcast, episode 36. Today I'm honored to be chatting with Paul Chek. Now, if you're not familiar with Paul, he's an internationally respected expert in the fields of corrective and high-performance exercise kinesiology. His approach really seeks to find the root cause of issues and treat the body as a whole system instead of fragmented parts. He's also a world-renowned speaker, consultant, author, educator, and inventor, so a man of many different skills and wears many different hats. He's been changing the face of fitness and holistic health for over 25 years, still going strong, and really just helping countless people across the globe to improve their lifestyle and performance. That's kind of a Cliff Notes version. I didn't want to spend 15 minutes covering all the great stuff he's done, but suffice it to say that, yeah, Paul, it's truly a pleasure having you here. I'm excited for the wisdom and lessons you'll be sharing today, and a very warm welcome to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and dive right in. You have a very holistic approach to health and wellness and performance. And where do you often see the biggest gaps in people's knowledge and implementation when it comes to a more well-rounded, holistic approach to wellness and performance?
Well, to be honest with you, there isn't one place where there's a biggest gap. I synthesized all my teachings down to what I felt were the four absolute essential elements that had to be present if any living philosophy was to produce health and wellness. Not intelligence, i.e. I'm a smart guy that can fly airplanes but doesn't know how to eat, or I'm strong, I can bench press 600 pounds but I can't get along with my wife, etc. So when I looked at what are the things that must be addressed in order for a person to live a truly wholesome life and live their dreams fully and experience life as a process of self-creation, something that we can all look back on and say, wow, even our pains turned out to be great gifts. And our joys were sustainable, right? When a person's joys are limited to or hinged upon things such as coffee, sugar, new cars, new toys, and things, then it's empty, because as long as you're chained to those things, you're never free without them. And so it becomes what would be called a codependence in psychological circles. So the essential elements of a living philosophy are what I give the name doctors, because the word doctor actually means teacher, unbeknownst to most people. So I call them the four doctors. Dr. Quiet is the chief anabolic physician or regeneration and repair physician. Dr. Quiet deals with sleep, active rest, and passive rest. Active rest is doing your chosen activity at a reduced intensity so your body can recover, but you can still maintain pumping and all the benefits of movement. Passive rest means doing another activity other than your chosen activity that doesn't use the same muscle groups. So, for example, a distance runner might use swimming on a passive rest day, or riding a bicycle along the beach, or going out for a surf session or something. And then with Dr. Quiet comes introspection, having time to be truly with yourself, to examine and question your own thoughts, to explore your own concepts of religion or metaphysics or spirituality, and ask yourself the mighty question, is it really true? So that we can, be honest about whether our beliefs are true or whether we're just following somebody else like a dog. Above Dr. Quiet, which would represent yin in the Chinese or Taoist approach, we have Dr. Movement, which is the expression of life itself, that everything that you see in the material world that looks like it still is moving. An atom is moving at almost the speed of light, but it's entangled in a polarity relationship. So we look at movement as movement of body, movement of emotions, movement of mind, and then in our spiritual practice, movement of spirit. And the word spirit means transformation, this becoming that, that becoming this. So if a person's living the kind of philosophy I teach, they're aware that they have the choice to become something greater, more beautiful, more exciting each day. So each day becomes like a fresh canvas to an artist. And instead of poor me, my life's the shits, blah, 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 it's like, well, if yesterday was bumpy, then today I can paint more creatively. I learned something yesterday. Dr. Happiness represents the mind, because happiness is something that we have to choose to create for ourselves, which we cannot do until we define what happiness is for us. What is happy making for us? And what makes one person happy is very, very different than what makes the person sitting or standing right next to them happy. And until we define what happiness is, we have no way to develop core values or our own, shall we say, guidance system for how we're going to manage these other doctors. So Dr. Happy is really about establishing what my dream is and what I'm willing to do to live that way each day. And then Dr. Diet deals with how am I going to feed myself so that I have the energy, the nutrition, and the resources to, shall we say, fuel that dream, which includes fueling your body and your mind and having stable emotions. And when you take your own definition of happiness and you have clearly established values about how much rest you need, what type of exercise or movement you need, and what you're going to eat, you've now covered the essential basics of any living philosophy. So the answer to your question is there's all sorts of people that claim to be experts in diet out there, but they don't have a very good understanding of movement. They don't know how to meditate. They don't know how to look at their own thoughts. They don't know how to rest properly. They may not have a clearly defined sense of happiness. There's people that are great at meditating that don't know how to exercise or eat properly and still don't know what happiness is for them. So they're closing their eyelids in a pursuit of emptiness because they don't know what they're looking for. There's people that think they're happy because they have their cars and their toys, but their bodies look terrible. They don't feel good. They eat sugar and drink too much stimulants, can't sleep at night, may not exercise. So what you find if you look throughout the cultures of the world today, there's very, very few people on this planet that have come to the awareness that you cannot truly be a healthy person if you're ignorant in any one of those four categories. So my teachings really are about truly understanding and mastering the application of those four essential qualities. And the beauty of what I teach is that those doctors live inside of you. You're always being given feedback from your emotions, your mind, your body. When you exercise, it's either getting you where you want to go. You're either shaping the body the way you want to shape it, or you're losing the weight you want to lose, or you're not. Just look at all the people out there using stuff like 5-Hour Energy, Red Bull, radical dietary approaches and fanatical approaches like veganism or fruitarianism or vegetarianism or even carnivorism, which is now really popular. The whole caveman concept's gone way off the deep end, so now we've got people eating tons of animals and making themselves sick on good food. So essentially, my whole philosophy is really based on 31 years of clinical practice as a therapist, coach, trainer, consultant, and everything in between. So I've had a lot of time to really analyze this stuff at every level, from working with rich people and movie stars to the best athletes in the world to consulting for professional sports teams, all the way down to poor people, sick people, diseased people, tired people, to the everyday work people.
Now, can you maybe share a story, one of your favorite stories about the changes that you saw in someone's life when they started to get these different areas in order?
I have my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, if I'm sure you've probably seen it, is full of those stories.
Yeah, and I've read it. It's fantastic.
There's thousands of them. Well, I have a client that is a trader, like a stockbroker, who's very, very successful at an early age. He was a multimillionaire by the time he was about 30. But he became obese. He got to be 360 pounds. And he found one of my originally trained Chek practitioners that did not have my holistic training. So this guy was in one of my very first classes before, and he didn't make it nearly far enough in the system to get all the holistic training. He just did what was then Chek Level 1, so my introductory course. And he found that guy, and the guy was able to trim him down to about 170 pounds. Wow. But unfortunately, he got burnt out. The guy worked the hell out of him, and he started getting illnesses. He developed a very bad fungal infection, parasite infection. His adrenal glands were burnt out. So fortunately, the Chek practitioner that he hired knew he was in over his head and sent the guy to me. I was able to effectively, completely rehabilitate this guy, get him back healthy, get him to where he put muscle on his body. Now he looks like a professional athlete. His skin is clear. He does not have parasite problems. He does not have fungal problems. He mastered the 4-doctor system. His entire family took it on. His father had me coaching him. His mother had me coaching him. His brother has me coaching him. I coach his wife. I coach his brother's wife. And basically using what I teach, the entire family was transformed, as many have been, and they have sent uncountable numbers of people, because these are very wealthy and very connected people. They've kept many, many Chek practitioners busy all over the world just because of the changes that have happened to them and all the people that knew them that said, what in the world is going on? That's a normal day on the job for me.
Yeah. Wow. That's an amazing story. Now,
let me tell you one other one real quick.
Please.
One time I did for years, I did a lot of work in New Zealand. I actually became quite famous in New Zealand because TV New Zealand approached me. Somebody in TV New Zealand found a bunch of my videos and was so excited about them, they wanted to sell them to the whole country of New Zealand. So they made a deal with me that they would pay for the commercial spot and they would just get a commission on sales. So for about 3 or 4 years, it's 5 or 6 times a day, there was television commercials selling my Swiss ball videos on New Zealand. So I got to be famous. If I go to New Zealand right now and walk down the street, people will come out of the woodwork asking me for autographs. Well, one day I'd flown in there to give some lectures, and I went to the gym that I always go to, and I booked myself a massage. And I had been there one day earlier, and I'd seen this girl who was about 240 pounds at 5'4" lifting weights, and she had excellent weightlifting form. And I looked at this girl in the gym and I said, there is something wrong, because this girl lifts weights like a professional. She must be a power lifter or something like that, but she's got some serious body problems. I came back the next day for a massage, and lo and behold, who walks in to be my massage therapist but that very girl. So I let her work on me for a while to gain some connection, and then I said to her, her name was Laura, if I remember right, I said, Laura, you know who I am, right? She said, oh yeah, I know who you are. You're famous. Everyone knows who you are. And I said, I don't normally ask these kinds of questions because I don't get massages to work. But in your case, I feel compelled to ask you, are you having some health challenges that are stopping your body from looking the way you want? Because I've watched you lift weights, and you lift weights like a professional. And she just burst into tears. She said, yes, I used to be a competitive power lifter. And then I went through some challenges in my life and started gaining weight and feeling really bad. And she says, I've now been to 10 doctors, and every single one I went to and followed their advice made me worse and worse. She said, I'm the worst I've ever been.
Wow.
And I said to her, I'll make you a deal. I will write you a program when I get off this table under one condition. If you do not follow it, next year when I come back to New Zealand, you have to pay me my hourly fee, which is $500 an hour, which is, at that time, the New Zealand dollar was worth 50 cents on the American dollar. I said, that'll be 1,000 New Zealand dollars. If you're willing to shake my hand and agree to that, I'll do it. She did. I got off the table, and literally on a piece of paper, like it was probably from a sandwich bag or something, I wrote down exactly what she needed to do, and then I connected her with a Chek practitioner to adjust her exercise program so it wasn't so intense. But I wrote down the 4 doctor principles that I wanted her to follow. 1 year later, I came back, walked into the same gym, and this very good-looking, beautiful, sculpted body walked up to me and gave me a big hug, and I was in shock because I didn't know who the woman was. And I said to her, "Do I know you?" And she broke out laughing. She's, "Paul, it's me, it's Laura." I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" She started laughing even harder. She says, "Well, you wrote the program." And I've got pictures of her that I show in my slideshow. She went from being an obese woman to getting 3rd place in a natural body shaping contest. And I got pictures of her on stage looking like a total fox. And I wrote that program on 1 piece of paper in about 8 minutes.
Wow. That's an amazing story. I love that. Now, I want to talk maybe a little bit more about doctor movement. Maybe we can touch on, right? It's so common for people to, like, their go-to is, oh, I need to get in shape, or I need to get healthy, so I'm going to go to the gym. But less so, people think about the health and the function of their organs and nervous system. So what are some of your thoughts and approaches on how we can improve or just improve the health and function of our organs and nervous system for higher levels of overall wellness?
Well, the answer to that is brutally simple. Live those 4 doctors, because your organs and your nervous system and every part of your body are directly affected by each of those doctors. The science of psychoneuroimmunology shows beyond a shadow of a doubt, with hard scientific evidence, that whatever you're thinking is directing your cells to produce a living image of that. If you're angry, your body's cells produce the chemicals and the reactions of anger, and you manifest anger as an experience, and your whole biochemistry changes to support the fight or flight reaction. If you're happy, then you have happy chemicals running all over your body. If you're eating wrong, your organs get unhealthy and they give you symptoms. If you're over-exercising or under-exercising, then you can't clean your body or you can't repair your body effectively. If you're not getting enough sleep, none of that stuff can repair or work effectively. But what very few people seem to be able to get through their head, largely due to medical misinformation, medical schools and all professional rehabilitation training schools break the body into component parts and actually teach anatomy as though the musculoskeletal system is in a completely different department than the organs or the glands or the nervous system. And you look at doctors, you got a specialist for hands, you got a specialist for shoulders, a specialist for knees, a specialist for backs, a liver specialist, a kidney specialist, a heart specialist. So what we have is experts all over the place. My definition of an expert is someone who knows more and more about less and less until they know everything about nothing.
It's a good definition.
What I show in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, on page 121 with the piano spine diagram, is that when you look into the hierarchy of nervous system reflexes, the control hierarchy of who controls what you find is that the organs actually control the utilization of resources, oxygen, and blood flow, so that anytime any gland or organ is stressed or in trouble and needs repair, it will shut down blood supply to the muscles on the same channels. So, for example, we all know that the heart is connected to the left arm and chest. When someone's getting a heart attack, they have pain in their chest and left arm, not in their heart. This is because the musculoskeletal system lends its sensory neurons to the internal organs. They don't actually have their own sensory neurons, so they borrow their sensory neurons from the musculoskeletal system. So when the heart's in pain, you don't feel it in the heart, you feel it in the region where they borrow their sensory distribution from. Or if you want to say it another way, organs send their pain into the muscles and joints that they're connected to neurologically and produce an outer reaction to an inner problem. So the point is that the way the body's actually neurologically wired by nature is that any threat to any organ immediately causes a reduction in blood flow to competitive muscles and joints to ensure that there's enough oxygen, nutrition and waste removal to speed the recovery of that organ. Because let's face it, if you lose your left arm, you can still function and live a pretty decent life. But if you lose your heart or your stomach, you got big trouble. If you lose your kidneys, anything on the inside is relatively irreplaceable. But things on the outside are far less critical for your survival. So Mother Nature designed the body so that anytime the internal glands or organs were failing in health, it would cause an inability for the musculoskeletal system to get adequate energy and resources to continue to have what would be a positive response to exercise. So when we have a culture that's full of people that are ignorant of what they're putting in their mouth and all the stimulants and all the garbage that they're buying that's marketed as food, which is just garbage, then what you have is people that eat bad food, start gaining weight, and paradoxically go to exercise programs to put more stress on their body and their organs to try to burn the fat off that is a side effect of a bad diet and a bad lifestyle to begin with. And that leads to lots of musculoskeletal problems because now you're forcing energy away from the organs to try to exercise, which you can't possibly do because the system won't allow it. So what happens is there's two classic reactions to a muscle when the organ it's connected to is under stress. Either the organ sends its excess energy, remember the word dis-ease means too much energy. So if you're drinking coffee, you're running too much energy through your nervous system, too much energy through your kidneys and your adrenals. So the organs dissipate that excess energy into the muscles that they're connected to, which causes increased tone in muscles. So muscles start to get tight. You get a lot of background tension. So some of the things you see people doing is popping their finger joints, popping their neck, popping their back. That's the symptoms of a muscle system that's too wound up and it overloads the joints. And it disrupts the normal kinematics of the body, the natural flow of movement. It's like having a chain on your bicycle that's so tight the pedals won't even go around, or turning a bearing down so tight that the bearing doesn't have normal free flow and it locks the system up and ruins it. So the critical factor that I'm pointing out here is that the other reaction is that muscles become shut down as a means of protecting the gland or organ because they can't afford to lose that much energy. And if muscles get shut down, now you cannot hold joints together, so you see problems of instability. So you get lots of lumbar spine dysfunctions, lots of shoulder dysfunctions, lots of neck dysfunctions. And everybody keeps treating the muscles and the joints like they're the problem. I've made a living for 31 years working with medical failures, and 98% of the time I have to start with their diet, start by getting them to sleep, start by finding out what it is they really want to create in their life instead of being on the treadmill of money, spend. I mean, we have a unique situation. Research shows that about 95% of the world, or the U.S. population, is 2 paychecks from bankruptcy.
Wow.
So people are, because of predatory lending, people are spending far more money than they make. So what their compensation is, I got to work more. So they work. They get so wound up, so tired, and so burnt out, they don't have time to eat. They don't have time to rest. They don't have time to play. And it all becomes about money and work. So I have the cool car, the cool phone, and I got the cool house on the hill, but I'm running to the doctor every 2 weeks because I'm dying on the inside. So it's really high time that people learned how the body and the mind really work and started practicing an integrated holistic philosophy, because let's face it, we're running out of time. Humanity can't get much sicker. It's a bit of a paradox in my mind that right now we have more people with PhDs and master's degrees and MD degrees, and more therapists and more trainers and more coaches per capita than ever in the history of man. And we are the sickest people we have ever been, and we show the greatest signs of lacking intelligence. Yet here we are making rockets that go to the moon, high-tech phones, advanced military weaponry that will destroy the planet easily. And we're not smart enough to know that fast food isn't fast at all, and that we're ruining the soil, we're ruining the atmosphere, we're poisoning the water, and we're killing ourselves. So when you have people practicing religions and philosophies such as materialism that are ignorant of the integration of the body, the mind, and the spirit, and the earth as one living integrated system, you get smart, sick people, and here we are.
Yeah, that is a very, very cruel irony. Now, I want to dig in a little bit more because you have this saying, a couple of different things. You have this saying, train, don't drain. And then also this idea of, which you had this video with the raw bras of working out, but also of working in, and it was integrated into this single session. So can you talk about the importance of training, not draining, and working in?
Yes. In my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, there's a series of questionnaires that you can fill out, and then it allows you to total up how much stress you're under. The more stress you're under, the more dangerous working out is. The word work out literally means to extend your energy outward. If you're lifting a weight, your energy is going into the movement of an external object. If you're running to and from something. You're spending the internal energy, the nutrition, the energetic resources, everything that's inside of you is being invested in some kind of an outward pursuit. So think of it as a bank account. Working out means I am spending resources. Working in is the accumulation of energy, which in Tai Chi would be called a yin cycle. I have a song I teach my students. Dr. Quiet, she is yin. Oh, how she loves to bring energy in. She teaches you how to rest so your energy is always at its best. Hey! Dr. Movement song says, Dr. Movement animates life, Dr. Movement animates life. Dr. Movement is the sun and moon. The sun and moon. The sun works out. The moon works in. The sun works out. The moon works in. And that determines the temperature you are in. Woo! So what I'm showing you here is the sun is very yang. It expresses its energy outward in every direction. But the moon, which controls the flow of fluids on our planet and the menstrual cycle and even affects the male hormonal system, is all about accumulating energy and building resources and nutrition. If we had no moon, the planet would be dead instantly. The currents of the ocean would stop, everything would die. We'd have no weather system, we'd basically be screwed. So just like you have to have a balance of day and night, if it was day all day or summer all the time, the earth would die of heat exhaustion. It would dry out. If it was constantly wet, it would drown. So Dr. Quiet teaches you how to rest by letting you know you're tired and giving you bags under your eyes and poor concentration. And every time you think you need coffee to keep going, instead of drinking coffee, you're being told you need to rest, not put more poison in your body. Now, I'm not against coffee. I'm not against anything. To me, there's no such thing as a bad drug or exercise, only an incorrectly prescribed drug or exercise. Once a person becomes honest about what their dream is and starts paying careful attention to the fact that their body is giving them symptoms 24 hours a day, and symptoms are not things you're supposed to knock out. If your car has a temperature gauge on it, you don't cover the temperature gauge and just ignore it. You don't cover the oil gauge on your car, and you know that would be like taking an aspirin to get rid of a headache. You haven't fixed a damn thing. Now you're just ignoring your body's very complex system for letting you know when you're doing things right or wrong. So your organs are always telling you constipation, diarrhea, painful urination, an inability to sleep, nervousness, palpitations of the heart, shortness of breath, liver pathology, skin trouble, bad breath, teeth that aren't healthy, vision that's failing, cognition that's failing, can't think straight, can't remember anything, and the list just goes on and on. Our bodies are telling us every minute of the day exactly which glands, organs, joints, and muscles are giving us trouble, which points right in the direction of the behavior that created it. So what do? We just take more pills and have everything cut out that we don't like so we continue to live foolishly. So the concept of working out, if you work hard, rest hard, means when you're going to train, do a good job of it. but rest adequately so your body has time to grow and regenerate, because our culture has a very, very convoluted idea, and that idea is that you only get stronger when you're exercising. Exercise is catabolic, it's tissue destructive. Exercise is the stress that triggers the body to grow and develop. It cannot grow and develop effectively without rest and regeneration. I've spent most of my life working with and training the best athletes in the world, and 99.999% of them have no concept of rest at all, and they actually feel guilty when they're resting. They feel insecure, like they're not doing enough. So work hard, rest hard means to the degree you're putting energy out or spending money, you must do the rest work and the nutrition work and the introspection to calm yourself and create a positive internal environment and give yourself the water, the resources, the food, and everything you need so that you can repair and come back stronger. And I teach the 1 to 3% rule that I learned from Charlie Francis, the famous strength coach that used to coach Ben Johnson. And that rule says if you cannot exceed your last performance in a workout by 1 to 3%, you do not belong in a gym. You are still in a recovery cycle. Now, 1 to 3% is hard to measure for most people. Like if you have a girl doing biceps curls with a 10-pound dumbbell, the next dumbbell up is 15 pounds. That's a massive jump. So that rule can be used subjectively. If you don't feel within the first 10 minutes of starting your next workout like you can do better than you did in the gym, you don't belong in the gym. You're actually going to get a lot more benefits, whether it be body shaping, losing fat, I don't care what it is, by working in, which is pumping at a low level and harmonizing your breathing, your heart rate, and your digestive rhythms of peristalsis. When a person's in a restful state, they should be breathing about 6 to 10 breaths a minute, and we have about 1 wave of peristalsis every 6 to 10 seconds. Research by HeartMath shows that when we're in that restful state, our heart rate will take a mathematical ratio to our breathing rate and our peristalsis, and that's when the body becomes highly tuned, like a well-balanced race car engine. So the working in is essential to pump and to energize at a low enough level that we get all the benefits of exercise that are many, such as circulatory benefits. When fluids flow past cells, it produces a hydroelectric effect. When we stretch connective tissues are what are called electrodes, so they produce electrical charges that our nervous system and energy field can pick up and use. Exercise and movement has been shown to aid detoxification and elimination, and the list just goes on and on. So working in is a technology that I developed, and the criteria for working in is that there's no elevation of heart rate, no elevation of respiratory rate. Your tongue should never dry out, because that's a sign that you're going into a sympathetic dominance, and you should be able to do it comfortably on a full stomach. I train most athletes to work in on a full stomach because they can get immediate symptoms of discomfort if they start using workout behaviors, and so it gives them a guideline. Also, working in greatly aids digestion and elimination, which is a huge problem with people. So working in becomes exercise for the internal systems. Working out is exercise for the external systems. Working in is very gentle and is actually a form of active rest. Working out is physically demanding and puts tremendous stress on the internal systems, because the harder you work the outer system, the harder the internal system has to work to repair it and maintain it. So that's the work hard, rest hard principle.
All right, now I want to take a quick second before this next question to talk about achieving your goals. Now, the research is very clear that if you write down your goals and have coaching and accountability, you double your chances of success. You raise your chance of success to over 75%, and this is true with anything, not just in your movement and training. So if you're feeling stuck in your training or in any part of your life, the lesson here is really to write down your goals, find a coach, find someone to keep you accountable. Now, if you resonate with my approach to training and movement, let's set up a free 15-minute Skype consult. Let's talk about where you're coming from, where you're going in your movement journey. Let's get you on the path to really building your movement practice and taking your training to the next level. I guarantee you're going to learn a lot and save yourself months or even years of frustration. Now, as an example of this, one of my students recently more than doubled the number of handstand push-ups he could do in only 28 days. He gained 4 inches of depth in his middle splits, tons of other great stuff. He said it was the most focused he's ever been in his training, and he was really amazed by the progress. So if you'd like, you can check out testimonials from some of my other students by going to wellroundedathlete.net/students. And, if this might be something you're interested in, like I said before, I offer a free 15-minute Skype consult for all new students. You can expect a completely custom world-class training program built entirely around your personal movement and training goals. We'll get you focused and effective in your movement practice, target your weak links in strength and mobility, and really help you break through your plateaus. So you can actually schedule this right now directly into my calendar. Probably takes 15 seconds. Just go to wellroundedathlete.net/free and it'll take you right to the place. All right, let's get to the next question. Now, I want to touch a little bit more on Dr. Diet, and because under that umbrella, I would imagine, is air quality and water quality. And our bodies are more sensitive to oxygen and water than they are to food or nutrition and things like that. So how do you personally ensure in your day-to-day life that you have a high quality of air and proper breathing and a high quality of water?
Well, there's a number of issues there. First, let me share my Dr. Diet song because it's important. Dr. Diet builds your temple, a body for your mind. We raise and eat our food with love. It makes our chemistry. Add good water and a smile. Be filled with energy. Good organics and be wise. You are what you eat. Eat good organics and be wise. You are what you eat. Yum, yum. Everything you need to know about eating is right in that song. Dr. Diet builds your temple. You're made of what you're eating. That's easy to prove. Stop eating and watch yourself shrink until you're dead. A body for your mind. What's good is a mind without a body to experience itself in? And your mind mirrors itself in your body. Happy thoughts, happy body. Negative, sad sack thoughts, negative, sad sack body. And to show you how bad that is, Deepak Chopra recently cited research showing that the average person thinks 68,000 thoughts a day, of which researchers found 90% to be negatively oriented. Okay, you take the research of psychoneuroimmunology and you couple it with that, and you now can see why our minds are killing our bodies. So once you realize the body is the temple, the body is the only place you can have this unique individual experience in which you can look at the rest of the universe. We keep thinking that it's something else out there without realizing we are that. You are earth, you are water, you are fire, you are air, and you take those away and there's nothing left except spirit, and it has no location, no name, no shape, no form. You become equivalent to a radio wave. We know they're there, but you can't see them unless you have a receiver. The receiver of the radio wave is the same as the body. The body allows you to experience the effects of thought. So we have to remember that the body is the temple for the mind, but it also mirrors the mind. We raise and eat our food with love. There's mountains of research showing that, one, women do far better raising crops than men because they're more nurturing and loving. During the First and Second World War, when men went off to war and women had to take over farms, crop production went up everywhere. That's well researched. What's my point? I'll tell you another one. If you look at the book Blueprint for Immortality by Harold Saxton Burr, he shows you a shocking piece of research he did. He took seedlings. He broke them into 2 groups. He then took mason jars of water. He had his students in his class hold on to the jars for 3 to 4 hours, and that was group A. And then he took mason jars to a hospital where they had a legitimate psychological ward for psychically ill people under lock and key, and he got them to hold on or stay in contact with the water for 3 to 4 hours. This is, by the way, in 1947 he did this research at Yale University. In the book, he shows the plants and how they grew. The water from the students in his classes caused plants to grow completely normally. You could see nothing wrong with them. The water that he poured on the plants to grow the seeds from the psychologically ill patients produced plants that did not grow toward the sun, that were all gnarled and crooked and looked like genetic malfunctions. They look like children look when they're born with birth disorders and extra limbs and all sorts of weird things. I mean, you looked at these plants and it was like, wow, what the hell happened to these things? So, Dr. Diet, build your temple of body for your mind. We raise and eat our food with love. Organic farming is loving the earth. Organic farmers love what they do. They are congruent with and in harmony with the principles of nature as opposed to a bunch of chemicals. Add good water and a smile means if you're not happy, then you're infusing your water with negative vibrations. And many, many research studies in the work of Emoto and a long, long list of people shows that water carries subtle energy and has an infinite capacity to carry energy and information, particularly information. And there's piles of research showing that whatever is going through your mind is going into your water, and it has a formative force on your body. So we raise and eat our food with love. It makes our chemistry. Add good water and a smile, be filled with energy. It means if you eat good food and maintain a positive mental state and stay focused on your dreams and your loves, instead of bitching about doing what you think you have to do, but you're only doing it to carry out somebody else's wish, like your mommy or your daddy or your church or whoever's programmed you, you're always going to be sick. But when you really live the principles I'm teaching, well, this is what you get, right? I'm a 53-year-old man that can still outrun and outlift almost every professional athlete I've ever worked with, and it scares the hell out of them. I can still do single-arm chin-ups. I can still run the 40-yard dash on the same speed I did in high school football. I do workouts with 6 sets of 4 in the deadlift at 4 plates a side or 400 pounds, etc., right? I'm not unusual. I'm just living in accordance with the principles of nature. It's strange to me that I'm a phenomenon because really all I do is live the way my mother taught me to.
Now, speaking of that, what is your perspective in a holistic approach and opinion on nutritional supplementation? And do you have any cautions for the listeners there? Absolutely.
First and foremost, 90% of all the vitamins produced in the world are produced by a drug company called Hoffman-La Roche, many of which are synthetic, and there's tons of research showing that synthetic vitamins are very toxic to the body. The liver has to detoxify them. They cause imbalances in the body. They should be classified as drugs, not vitamins. Second of all, the grand majority of the vitamins that do contain natural products are products that came directly from commercial farms, and you cannot filter out pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and rodenticides, which are at extremely high levels and very, very dangerous in our food supply. And I wrote about that in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. I wrote about it in my more comprehensive book for my students, Under the Veil of Deception. And the medical community keeps saying, oh, as long as they're at this dose or lower, you're safe. But what it turns out to be, based on research, is that one, what do you do when you, for example, in one of my books, I found a study where they went into the lunchroom, the scientists went right to the lunchroom of a school in New Zealand, which has much stricter farming standards than the United States. Once they were in the school, they took the food right off the food line at the cafeteria straight to the laboratory. They found 19 pesticides. Sometimes some of them were at 10 times the safe limit. Research shows the chemical companies keep giving you one dose of one pesticide at safe limits, but they forget the fact that when you put this food on your plate, you're eating 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of the damn things. And the research shows when you cook them in ovens, particularly microwave ovens, that the pesticides chemically combine with each other to produce chemicals that have never before been seen by man, which means your liver has no idea what to do with it. The point I'm making is commercially traded vitamins from commercially farmed source products are concentrated toxins. And vitamins can never replace food. Remember, vitamins are synthesizers and catalysts. Vitamins only help you to metabolize, digest, assimilate, and eliminate the food you put in your mouth with it. In other words, if you put junk food in your mouth and you take vitamins, you're just improving your ability to make your body out of junk food, which is not intelligent at all. The vitamin can't be any better than the food that it came from. So at the bottom line here is a vitamin can't be any better than the food that source food that it came from, which can't be any better than the soil it was grown in, which brings us right back to organic farming and non-toxic farming. And research shows piles of it that on average, organically farmed food is about 4 times more nutritious than commercially farmed food. And there's piles of corporate bogus science out there to try to steer people away from organics. I've researched it extensively. So at the end of the day, what do I think about vitamins? I think you should, on average, the average person should look at a good whole food, organically raised multivitamin as a general baseline to go with a good organically based diet. Because even on organic farms today, we still have soil depletion. We still have chemicals moving through the atmosphere. We still have blowover from local fields. So even the best farmers in the world can't protect their farms from environmental chemicals due to the environment we've created today. But you're going to get a lot less toxic stuff from organic farms. And if you look at the science of how the soil works, organic soil and the microorganisms are the key elements that determine how nutritious food is. And chemically farmed fields are virtually void of soil life. They're dead. It produces dead food that's really full of toxins. So my answer is, 1, vitamins and supplements never replace a good diet. Vitamins and supplements made of the same food that is poisoning you is a concentrated form of poison. The liver and kidneys and the biological systems of the body cannot effectively filter a lot of these things out for many reasons I won't discuss here because it's too technical, but safe to say that you have to be very careful because you can get levels of this stuff in your body that very commonly produces diseases of the nervous system, the organs, the glands. I've seen piles and piles of this stuff. Why do you think we're having so much cancer? 1 in 2 people now has cancer, and they expect it's going to be 1 out of 1 in the next 10 years. Okay, so if we're so smart and our food is so good, and all this crap we keep hearing, then why is almost every disease rate rising, skyrocketing, and why do we have kids coming out of the womb now with clogged arteries and sick hearts and sick organs? Why? Because their parents are sick, and sick people can't give birth to healthy kids. We're at the end of human evolution if we don't honestly look at the concept of creating a world that is dream affirmative as opposed to just making more monies to keep rich corporations rich. Our bodies and our lives are mirroring back our choices to us straight up. And those choices cannot be cut out or drugged out or medicated with cheap vitamins. We have to, if we want to be healthy and we want our kids to have a world to live in that's not going to give them even more disease, we have to start being much more responsible with our choices. And obviously the government's not going to change it. It's got too much financial investment in it. So the simple thing is, remember, it doesn't matter who you vote for. They've been lying to us since the beginning of time. What does matter is where you spend your money. If you keep supporting companies like Monsanto and drug companies that make garbage vitamins and Fred Flintstone this and McDonald's and poisonous crap like that, you're actually supporting the very destruction of this planet. And all you got to do is just don't buy any of the products that aren't sold by ethical companies, that aren't organic products, that aren't earth-friendly, that aren't toxic, and we can change this whole planet together in no time. You know, when you look at how much the United States government spends on defense alone, it's a bit of a paradox because recent scientific investigations found that for about $6 billion, we could rehabilitate the soils on the planet, clean the waterways and the airways. And when that was proposed, George Bush was in government at that time, he said we cannot afford to do it. Okay,
$6 billion. That's a steal of a deal for that, to do all that stuff.
It is. I mean, because there's many advanced technologies, but the thing is there's so much money being made off the disease process. and off the chemicals that they don't want to engage in the truth. We don't have a White House. We have a corporate headquarters. And only we can change it from the bottom up. We can't change that from the government up because rich people are too invested in money, not health and vitality in the future. They're short-sighted and deep-pocketed, and it's up to us at the ground level to take responsibility for the fact that we keep putting money into those systems while our kids are going to the hospital sick, to the dentist with rotten teeth, and while they're believing the things they see on television. So I think all of us should be excited and inspired to get together, hold hands as a world community, and talk to each other through web forums and start living for doctors and supporting companies that are for doctor intelligent.
Yeah, well said. Now we're getting a little short on time here. I want to be respectful of yours, but I know this is a huge topic, but can we touch just a little bit on fungus and parasite infection and maybe some signs in the body of that, and maybe just the beginning steps of how to either reduce our chances of acquiring one or start to get rid of them?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's good research now showing that cancer is actually a fungus. And Doug Kaufman talked about that in his second book, which I believe is titled Cancer. There's a great audio recording of a webinar called Blueprint for Cancer by Lynn McTaggart at What Doctors Don't Tell You in London, England, where she interviews many of the top cancer experts and nutrition experts in the world, like Bill Walcott. And they are also now saying, the cancer experts, that they're now looking at cancer as a fungal infection. Funguses are opportunists, just like parasites. They're ubiquitous. There's funguses everywhere. Every breath you take, everywhere you go. It's almost impossible to get them out of the environment. They're Mother Nature's decomposers. So are parasites. They're there to break down anything that doesn't meet the requirements for healthy life. It's the police system of nature. So the issue of fungal infection is largely an issue because funguses feed on any creature that's too tired and doesn't have enough immune system activity and enough health and vitality to regulate its immune system and maintain its own barriers. Parasites are opportunistic organisms as well. They're everywhere. Every person, no matter how healthy they are, has lots of parasites in them. In fact, current research, and they even published this research in the journal The Economist, shows that of the 100 trillion cells that we think of as ourselves, 90% of them are parasitic organisms. They are not human. It's a garden. We're a walking, living, breathing garden of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other organisms, all working together in harmony. A parasite infection is the name of what happens when those parasites that are normally doing something for you, like informing your immune system, for example, are overfed and overstimulated and get out of control. And then they begin to control the pHs of your body compartments, shut down your immune system, and trigger diseases because you've now gone outside the criteria for Mother Nature for living a healthy life. The number one feeder of funguses and parasites is sugar, and we eat more processed sugar today than ever in the history of man by far. In the year 1900, the average American ate 5 to 7 pounds of sugar. Now we're looking at 170 to 300 pounds of sugar per person worldwide, on average in civilized nations. This is the prime source for feeding funguses and parasites, and they will disable you. They will eat you. They do get into organs. They do get into joints. They can eat right through your intestinal tract. They make hell of a mess out of your skin. They go into every part of your body. Parasites each have a target organ. They eat right into those organs and lay their eggs. They go into brain tissue, into eyes. I've got pictures in my DVD program. Have you got my Healing Fungal and Parasite? So you saw the pictures in there, and I explained in great detail how all this commercial farming and bad food is just causing parasite and fungal infections worldwide. We're eating animals with parasite and fungal infections, so naturally we're going to get them. We're eating sick animals and sick plants off of sick soils. So going after parasites and funguses with drugs and things to kill them is ridiculous as you can get when the problem's actually constantly being eaten and drank and and we exhaust ourselves doing silly stuff and not living in accordance with the principles of nature. Almost any symptom you can think of, from skin problems to breath problems to energy problems to digestion to elimination to joint problems to cognitive problems to nervous system problems, can be the symptoms of funguses and parasites. When you look at the actual scientific research on it, almost every symptom you can think of can come from a fungus or a parasite. And research also shows that funguses, when they release mycotoxins, which are some of the most powerful and dangerous chemicals ever found in nature and are actually used in biological warfare, when the funguses get out of control and our immune system can't police them, they produce mycotoxins, which have been shown by research to modulate our immune system and confuse interleukins, cytokines, and immune messengers. In other words, they disable our immune system. Once we get to a point where the body cannot kill them down, they actually use chemicals to make you crave sugar, to confuse your immune system and shut it down. And fungal infections are very, very common, and most of the people that I see have, actually scientific research shows about 90 to 95% of the world population now has both a fungal infection and a parasite infection at the same time. I tell people all the time, typically you need to knock the fungal infection out first, because most parasites cannot manipulate the immune system. Funguses can. So if you have a fungal infection at the same time as a parasite infection, and you go after the parasites, the funguses keep the immune system shut down. So within 3 days of finishing your parasite medicine, boom, you got a parasite infection again. So what's the rule? What's the approach? Eat real food, have a good relationship with the sleep cycle, get to bed by 10 to 10:30 at the latest, rise with the sun, follow all the principles in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, have a clear definition of what your dream is, know how much movement you need, and you don't need more than that, and you don't want less than that. Keep your body in balance. Eat real food, farmed by real farmers from real soil, not toxic crap. The other thing we have in this culture of ours is they think they can save money on food. People shop for food like they shop for cars and gasoline. That is as ridiculous a concept as ever. Not only that, it's ignorant of the fact that farmers are very, very important to the health of the world and the culture, and we should be happy to pay farmers for all the tremendous hard work they do to raise good food for us. But instead, we try to shop for food like we're going to buy auto parts or soap.
Yeah.
And cheap food is a death sentence. So in my Healing Fungal and Parasite programs, I show you how commonly used body care products can be very poisonous to the body. Commonly used cleansers and soaps and insect sprays in houses are very, very toxic and damaging to the body. I show how many foods cause these problems. There's a long list of things that a person that wants to be healthy needs to do, and almost all of it boils down to where you're spending your money. Yeah. So it's a very deep topic, but I think if you've seen the program, I tried to present it so that the average 12-year-old can understand it and use good visuals and give good suggestions. So the program teaches you exactly how to manage these 4 doctors and how to make the changes in your life to get rid of fungal and parasite infections, which trigger off an uncountable number of diseases in the body that are often treated as though they were the entity, as though they were the enemy. And I have people that have been surgery over and over. I've had people come to me that have spent $250,000 in 5 years trying to get over some disease, but nobody talked to them at all about the stresses of their life, the challenges in their relationships, the food they were eating. I had a woman that was a medical doctor's wife who came to me, her fingernails were falling off because she had such severe hypothyroidism. And when I analyzed her food log, she was drinking 25 cups of coffee a day. And not one doctor, not even her husband, not one single physician she'd seen, and she'd seen many, ever even mentioned that or thought that was an issue at all.
Wow.
Okay, so this is the kind of mentality we're dealing with. So fungal and parasite infections are a major worldwide problem, and they are causing tremendous numbers of diseases, and many people that have surgeries to get organs cut out that is labeled as an organ failure, but really the organ's being eaten alive from the inside out by parasites. And I talk about all different things you can do and ways to get tested. But the simplest thing to do is go on an antifungal diet, because an antifungal diet is also an anti-parasite diet. And it just requires some basic changes and living intelligently. And we've got to get out of this absolutely dangerous idea that emanates from religion that we're here only for a short stay and that we're on our way to heaven so we can conquer the earth and torture it because we're not going to be here long anyhow. Well, you are the earth. You are the sky. You are the water. You are the sun. You are the moon. You are the stones breathing and walking around. And to the degree we don't take care of the earth, we mirror that right back to ourselves. So it's time for a philosophical, religious, and spiritual upgrade. And right now is the chance for all of us to get together as a world community, get over our personal and political and religious biases, because we have an opportunity now to hold hands and participate in healing the garden and making this place safe for our children. Or we're going to wake up tomorrow and the rate of cancer is going to be 1 in 1. Everyone's going to get cancer. And the medical establishment will get extremely filthy, stinking rich while the planet dies. And everyone that's rich will have nothing to live for because their kids too will be sick and diseased. And they'll spend all their money. I work with a lot of very wealthy people that spend a huge amount of their time, energy, and money on doctors and therapists. And they can't even enjoy all the money they've worked their whole life for. And when I see the way they live, it's scary. It's as though they've never, ever learned even the basics of life, but many of them have master's degrees and PhDs and are working in very advanced jobs. So what do you do when you got someone who is a F-14 fighter pilot who doesn't even know the difference between commercial food and real food, good water and bad water, and the importance of rest and how to exercise correctly? What do you do when you got people building Apple computers and Macintosh computers and Microsoft and all this stuff, and they don't even know how to sleep, eat, and do the most basic things in life? You get a world full of smart, sick people. And, you know, my mission here is not to scare people. My mission here is to tell the truth. And it's easy to find this information in seconds on Google. But I think it's fantastic because we now have a reason bigger than our differences to hold hands and have a healthy party together. If we all come to the realization that the best thing you can do to help the world is to take good care of yourself and honestly love yourself and know your body is mirroring back your choices to you, then the only thing you can do to get your body healthy is buy food from good farmers and buy stuff from responsible companies that aren't having you put poison all over your body and scent your house with chemicals that have the same chemicals that are used in all sorts of other dangerous concoctions that should never be in contact with human bodies. Look at all the petrochemicals. If you saw how much petrochemicals were in makeup, it would shock you, right? This is our chance to really put the little stuff aside. Let everybody worship the God they want, but let's all get one thing clear. We've got to take care of the soil. We've got to clean up the water supplies. We've got to clean the air up. And we got to take care of the animals and farm animals and plants ethically and respectfully with love. And we need to sing, dance, and play a lot more and work a lot less, because most of the money we spend is on garbage that we don't need. And we have piles and piles of stuff sent in here from other countries all over the place that's just junk. Look at the strip malls everywhere selling you cheap garbage, all at the expense of this planet. If we just get back to basics and really enjoy celebrating life together and having more fun together and not needing so much stuff. We're so stuff oriented. If people don't have the cool car or the coolest toys, they feel like they're nobody. Well, we'd be far better off to get rid of all that stuff and popularize it as being fun to work in a garden or being fun to ride a horse and play. Do things that really are health-giving, that bring you back in touch with nature and with yourself. We're cut off from the head up. We have these brains that totally forget that they have bodies attached to them. And this is what we've got. And I've spent my whole life trying to share the very basic principles that I literally eat, sleep, breathe, and poop in my own life. And that's why I do what I do. Many people have all sorts of arguments against my approach, even the people that hire me. And I simply take off my clothes and say, this is what my plan's produced. Let me see you get undressed so I can see the evidence of your plan. I tell people all the time, it's not smart to go to sick doctors for health advice.
Yeah.
One time I was asked by the London Times a very dangerous question. And I told them, I bet you won't even publish the answer, and they wouldn't. But the newspaper reporter said she was definitely going to write it in there, but she knew the editors would take it out, and they did. The question was, what would you do if you were put in charge of health and exercise education for the entire country of England? I said I would make it illegal for any doctor, therapist, or teacher to work in the profession unless they were wearing their underwear on the job so everyone could see the results of their actual education. And if we were to do that right now, if every doctor and every physical therapist, chiropractor, osteopath, school teacher, anyone had to come to school wearing their underwear to teach, we would all be very, very clear about what really works and what doesn't, what is theory and what actually works in practice. And I think it's time for us all to get naked together and get honest together and have a big clean the world up and clean ourselves up party and get back to the basics. And we can turn this thing around and have a great time for untold number of years to come. But if we keep being experts and sick, fit people, well, you don't need to be a genius to figure out where we're headed.
Yeah, well said, Paul. And I know we're getting a little short on time here. I really appreciate all the things you've shared today. If people want to learn more and connect with you online and I mean, pick up your books or courses, anything like that, where's a good place for them to reach out to you?
Probably the best place that has a fair bit of stuff is www.chekinstitute.com. And people can also look at my blog, www.paulcheksblog, Paul Chek's blog. And I also have a website called PPS Success Mastery, Personal, Professional, Spiritual Success Mastery, PPS Success Mastery, where I have 12 lessons I've created to help people literally reprogram their minds for happiness and joy and learn how to take care of their bodies. And it's a personal, professional, spiritual success mastery. So it's the kind of body-mind element of my educational system. And you can find my holistic lifestyle coaching program, Level 1, which is open for the public, which teaches you how to master the techniques in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. If they just go to the Chek Institute website and look at our schedule, and you can find the HLC 1 courses. The exercise coach program is the entry level for people that want to master exercise in their life. So those are some resources. There's so many websites with my stuff on it these days, but those are the primary ones.
Okay.
So chekinstitute.com. ChekConnect.com is where you can go find a Chek practitioner or holistic lifestyle coach near you. There's a locator system on there. So anybody that wants help can find someone that's trained through my system at ChekConnect.com. And then, of course, you can, my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. My last 4 doctors you'll ever need, How to Get Healthy Now, is an ebook that's a multimedia ebook. You can look it on Kindles and things, and it's got audios, videos, sound tracks, slideshows, and it's a beautiful, simple book that talks about these kinds of basics we discussed today.
Great stuff. Well, I'll post links to all that in the show notes, of course. Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you making the time and just sharing your wisdom and insight with the listeners. Hey,
my pleasure. We got to support each other. I can't do anything alone. None of us can. The world is our dream team. And, I think if we look at what we have in common versus what we have as differences, we'll see that the things that we have in common are the earth, the water, the air, the food. And when we celebrate those things and know that none of us has time to worry about religious or political differences if none of those basics are covered, because it spells the end if we don't take care of that, then we have everything to celebrate and see each other as a global community or a global family. And I think if we want to create a stable environment for our kids to have the kind of life we want them to, now's our chance to have a big party together and do a little cleanup and reorient ourselves to the things that matter and encourage big corporations to invest in earth-friendly products. And I think we can turn this thing around pretty quick.
All right, that's it for today. Remember, if you're feeling stuck in your own training, let's set up a free Skype consult and figure out how we can take your training and movement to the next level. You can schedule the consult directly into my calendar right now, and it only takes probably 15 seconds. Just go to wellroundedathlete.net/free. And I've also got a direct link in the show notes, which takes you right to the calendar as well, if that's easier for you. Last thing, if you could just take a couple seconds and rate and review the podcast in iTunes. It makes a huge difference in the iTunes rankings, helps more people find the show easier. It means a lot to me, and really it's just a small way to pass on your appreciation for the podcast if you're finding it to be valuable to you along your journey. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you found something useful. I'll see you next week.